Hello, I'm Catherine Sines, the president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary is a professional organization of a group of men and women who support Rotary International. We also join together by a common interest of service to our Hudson community, and we have a sincere desire to give back. We meet weekly on Wednesdays at Laurel Lake Retirement Community, 200 Laurel Lake Drive, in their dining room. We meet from 7:30 to 8:30 and would like to invite you to join us. For more information about Rotary, go to www.rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the following excerpts from one of our recent meetings and consider joining us on Wednesday morning.
Got it.
Yes. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Liz Ramsey.
Yes, sir. That's perfect.
Good morning, Rotarians. Good
morning.
Pray. Dear Lord, we know we are all fearfully and wonderfully made. I ask that you richly bless each and every one of us this coming year. Thank you, Lord, for bringing balloons and fireworks and hip hip hoorays to celebrate each person here and their families. Thank you for your special blessings this season as we prepare for the gala that provides so much to many. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
We don't say that.
Thank you, Liz. And now if you join me in the pledge and the four-way test.
We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the four-way test. Things we think, say, or do. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And to lead us in song this morning, Chris Parker.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning, Chris.
So this song's for Ben Rexroth. He wanted to sing My Country 'Tis of Thee. I asked him if he wanted to do a solo, but he said not today. Okay, so please join me.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Good job.
You guys don't even know how to read right. You read from the right to left.
Yeah.
We've been doing it longer.
Good morning, Rotarians. We have a lot of announcements and things going on today and an awesome speaker, so I want to get right to it. Chris will introduce our guest first.
Good morning again.
Good morning, Chris.
We have a lot of guests with us today, but first, if they could please just stand up when I announce their names. Jim Young has a table full of guests. His lovely wife Karen is with us today, and his friends Karen and Tom Chadford. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And then I did note that our speaker, some of his family members came with him, so his brother and his father are here today, but he may introduce them in more detail later. So thank you for joining us.
So next I'm going to have Evan and membership come up. And then James is going to come up and demo something for us.
No, trust me. You do not want to hear that. My kids would tell me not to sing when they were little.
Because of the 2-hour delay.
Thank you, President Catherine. Good morning, fellow Rotarians.
Good morning, Evan.
All right, I come to you this morning with great news. We're moving some folks into the gold badge status, which we're not going to go through it again today, but we've got a list of activities that help new members get acclimated to our club. And today I'd like to ask Ralph Day and Sue Carter to step forward so we can get rid of those red badges.
Red badge of shame.
Catherine asked a great question just now. She said, are we going to let them keep the red badges? I said, no, we actually need to recycle those because it's exciting. We've got a handful of other new members joining right now. So keep up the good work, sharing your Rotary value proposition to your friends, sharing why you're here. It's working. Jay, keep doing a great job putting everything out into the hub. That's working really well for us. Sue, Ralph, congratulations. You're the newest, finally official new members to our club. Thank you very much for your patience and getting ready for a live.
Thanks, Evan. James Field, would you, he said that a few people kept asking him about how you could see the Jimmy Sufton film when he put Medicine Music a couple weeks ago. He made most of us cry, or
Dick.
me. Made me cry.
You can see Jimmy Sufton, but also Dick Pearsall.
Dick Pearsall.
Yeah.
Dick Pearsall leading us in a song. Yeah. Both of those are great.
You want to hear Jimmy sing like you'd want to hear me sing.
So he was going to get ready how to go out to the HCTV website and review.
Okay, so.
For our guest, Dick Pearsall was one of our members who recently passed away.
But this is also just how to see our prior meetings. So if you go to the Hudson Community TV website, if you don't know how to get there, just find a city council person. They'll tell you. Or you just Google Hudson Community Television. So you get to the website and there will be a, on the menu, live streaming. So we'll select that. There you go. And then you see all these live streaming things. The fastest way is just to go in the little search bar and type in Rotary. Search. And you'll get like 100 videos of Catherine. So each week it's just Catherine.
There's an intro.
Yeah. So you'll see that each one shows who's presenting, and then so you can just you can scroll through and look for any of them. There's several pages of them, but I'll just pick one at random here. No, I can't. This one is good. So it starts off with.
Hello, I'm Catherine Sines, the president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary is a professional organization of a group of men and women who support Rotary International.
So
if
you want to skip through that.
to our Hudson community, and we have a sincere desire to give back.
Yeah. So, and then it'll go through and it'll go through the whole.
You have to lead us to song.
Yeah, Dick. This wasn't to show you necessarily Dick, just to show you how to access it. So. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So it wasn't me videoing because I usually keep them. Anyway, so we'll. We've already heard you say. Anyway, just wanted. So anyway, just wanted to show you. So those actually go way far back. If you go back in the pages, they have meetings that we had in the other room. So, so you can go back and what's nice is whatever the main subject was, they put that at the bottom. So if you want to go back and see a particular presentation, it's on there. So just wanted to let you know about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
That's great.
And next we have a grant presentation. Donna Kastner is going to come up and present a grant. You know, we give all the grants and we have a great program with it.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
You know, one of the best things about being on the grant committee is the opportunity to read the applications for funding. There's so many amazing projects going on in this community. It's what makes Hudson so vibrant. And we're thrilled to have Christina Woolley and Carrie Denges with us from Hudson City Schools, an amazing project that they're doing, the Bloodhound Project. Would you guys come up? And I think that we have a slide presentation, a short talk. Yeah, and
No, I just want to say that when we're sitting on our table, our speaker's brother's here and his child is in his project this year.
see that?
Jim, will you just hit present?
You have to stand behind.
I'm loud, I'm a teacher.
No, but it's on TV.
Present.
There you go.
So thank you very much for having us this morning, and of course for providing us this grant. We're just going to give you a quick overview about the program. And so I'm here with Carrie Denges. I want to thank Carrie because it's impressive. She has 4 children under the age of 10. It's impressive when you make it anywhere with 4 children, let alone at 7 a.m., right? So thank you, Carrie. The Bloodhound program. So what is Bloodhound? I'm not going to show this quick video for you, but the Bloodhound actually is a car being built out of the United Kingdom, and it's being engineered to break the land speed record. It will go 1,050 miles per hour. And the most common question is, well, why? Why are we doing this? It's considered almost to be the next kind of race to space, that this is going to inspire generations of students into science. And specifically, we hope it's going to generate interest in the United States, as well as in females, because females are lagging behind males in terms of their interest in the STEM fields. So the Bloodhound project actually came to us through Swagelok up in Solon. They became a sponsor of the project, and they came to Phil Herman and said, what do you think? Are you interested in this project? And so, as my job and the curriculum coordinator of the district, he came to me and we said, this is really exciting. Our kids would love to learn about science through the lens of a car that's going to break a land speed record. So that's how this project came to be. The reason why this is a really enticing project is there's so much about the car that's aligned to all these different grade levels. So the kids are learning all their standards, but they're really not aware that they are, because they're learning about this cool car, where they're going to race it, why they're going to race it. So on the right-hand side for you all over there, you can see all the components of the car that had to be engineered. And so we have discussions about this from AP Physics all the way down to first grade. They're kind of studying this from their different lenses. The desert will provide a lens as we talk about geography and landforms, and where should we race this car? Would downtown Hudson be appropriate? Why or why not? So we had that study. Obviously a team in terms of collaboration. We're really working with kids on collaboration skills and problem solving. So overall, the project provides a really nice lens for us to hit a lot of areas. So Carrie's going to talk about some of the specific components.
Okay, so we started in 4th grade, and this covers our geography and landform standards. So what we ask the students to do, and there's some pictures, is that we ask them to look in the United States. Well, why could or couldn't they handle the race here? And it actually was considered by Bloodhound. Some of the features just didn't stay consistent enough for them to do that. But we look at, there's so many different things they think about. It has to be very flat. It has to be 12 miles long. It has to be 3 miles wide. We also come to the conclusion the track can't be round, which is interesting for them to understand. It really has to be a very nice long space, no vegetation. So that was also really tricky in the States. We got to use our augmented reality sandbox to mimic what it would look like where they chose their landforms. So if there was mountain ranges, if there was desert, they could change the sand, and then it showed it in different colors, and then they could really see what their track would look like. We also look at timelines in 4th grade, and we do a double layer timeline where we study the history of Bloodhound, or the race cars that are breaking land speed records, and then also the evolution of the car, and then we compare design elements. And we see that so many of them are the same, and they've been drawing from each other. And we also, in 5th grade, look at force and motion, and that parallels beautifully with 1st grade because they also study force and motion. So our 5th graders go down to our 1st graders, and they show what they've been learning, and then they take that to the little ones. So that's a really nice component. We, this year, added the blocks CAD wheel design component And we take our kids and we put them in multi-ability cross grade level groups in 4th and 5th grade. And they create, we give them some structure because the wheels have to be certain things have to be the same, but they essentially code their own wheels using the BlocksCAD program, and then they can take the design that we've given them and they can add their own design elements to it, and they'll, as a team, put those ideas together and create their own wheel design, and then we send them to be printed and they bring them back and then they see what was your design choice and why did that work, why didn't it work, and sometimes that does come up. On design day, we have the kids come together in teams and they move through the school and they're able to experience a lot of different things that they'll use to make their car, because they are creating their own small rocket car. We are so fortunate because we have some families that have access to a race car, so they actually bring a race car to our school. The kids look at it and they ask questions to the driver about different design components, about spoilers, about the front of the car, about the wheels, and then they kind of take that in and they take notes and they're thinking about their own car. Then they design on paper what they think they want their car to look like. And it does have also a structure so that the car is stable when it races. And then we draw from STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And we look at paper airplanes and we talk about how an airplane has the same components as our race car. And we talk about weight and lift and drag and thrust and how they're the same for the race car as it is for the airplane. And then they make a paper airplane and they look at it and what makes it work and what makes it fly faster, what makes it fly longer. And then we bring in engineers and they're coached to just ask questions. They're not telling the kids what to do. They're saying, why would you do that? And what do you think what would happen if we did this? And they're very much coaches on this day so that they can help the kids focus on things that would make sense and are practical, and then also let them stretch a little bit and possibly fail, because that's okay, that's how we learn. And then we also use Connects to, we also look at that for speed. Tell me again, Christina, I'm sorry.
Speed and distance.
Speed and distance, okay. But we use them and they build the cars to test their speed and distance. On build day, we go from the paper design to our block design, and you'll see them using different tools, and some of them, we have adults, and we have parents and engineers come in and help, and we also bring in our physics students, and they're also coaches for the kids on this day, because they're using so many different tools, and this is their first experience using them. So we have an engineer and physics students work with the teams. That's where they truly build their car, and then when they're done, they actually have what they're going to race on race day.
This is a new component to the program. We're calling it Sponsorship Day because we're mimicking what the actual Bloodhound car has to do. They have to go out and seek sponsorship in order to continue the engineering and design process for their car. And you can see on the actual Bloodhound car all the different sponsors for the car. Well, our students, we put out an ad in the Hudson Hub, and we sent home letters and said, do you want to sponsor the car? And so families could sponsor at different levels, and that money isn't going to the engineering and design. It's going to go to help the program continue in the future for our speakers. But our kids, our students will create little pitches, and they'll pitch to sponsorship boards, and then they'll determine, and they'll put a logo on their car deeming on who they got sponsorship from. So that's an additional component we've added this year.
Should use them for the gala.
And the most exciting thing you can mark your calendars is on May 17th, rain date, May 18th, you can come out to Memorial Stadium and you can come to Race Day. This is our Rocket Car Race Day. It's actually run by the broadcast journalism students at the high school. So they set up all these boards in the middle. So anytime two cars race, they'll actually have a live time up on there. So it's kind of like a real race. They'll tell you the team name and the student's name before the car races. And then after every race, they'll update a leaderboard. So it seems like a real race day. And then down here you can see we actually have our broadcasting students interview the students after their race. So we have a heat, and the winning team comes on over and is interviewed, and we do coach the broadcasting students, and they'll ask, tell me about your design. So we're really trying to get that engineering thinking on what did you do and why did you do it. And then in the end we have a big winner, and their team name actually gets to go on the Bloodhound car that will race in South Africa. So their little name will go
on the car when they're done. So there's some examples of our students at the end of the race day. So, and that's our program. Most of all, we really want to say thank you to Rotary for supporting this program. And what I say is most exciting about Hudson is we're innovative. We really try to think out of the box in order to provide our students some real-world, hands-on problems. And so thank you for supporting that.
What an extraordinary program, and I failed to say it. So on behalf of our Rotarians, we're thrilled to support this. We are $1,000 donation to this program. So thank you for all that you're doing.
That's his new kind of Zoom.
Donna just asked him if we gave them a Rotary sticker, would they put it on one of the cars? I think
Oh, yeah.
talked Chris into letting his daughter do that. Yeah, those are the great programs that we're
Be appropriate to have a gear on the
sponsoring
car.
and helping to do. So, I mean, all our hard work really pays off. And just so you know, on race day, last year I think it was, that Mr. Herman, the superintendent, did a car. And she didn't show you, they actually get a cube, like a foam cube, and they actually shape the car. They spend a lot of time doing it. It's an awesome project. So the next thing on our schedule is our speaker, and Jim Ahern, would you come up and introduce our speaker?
I'm just thinking.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Before I introduce the speaker, I want to introduce one person as a guest that was introduced, Mike Hudson. Mike is here to check us out because he's coming back to speak in May. He's a retired Maple Heights police officer. Where? Shaker Heights. I'm sorry.
You don't like it, you're coming back?
Yeah, what's wrong with Maple? You got the Heights part right. Whenever I get a bio from a speaker, they always say, oh, you're free to cut it down to any length you want. And that's usually a pretty easy job. Not today. Not today. Greg Naples graduated from Hudson High School in 1991. While at Hudson, he was co-captain of the football team and played lacrosse. In October 2017, he was inducted into the Hudson High School Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame. Following Hudson High School, Greg attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He was commissioned in the U.S. Army as an infantry officer, successfully completed airborne school and ranger school. He was assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division, followed by an assignment to the U.S. Army Ranger School as a ranger instructor. In 2002, he became a special agent with the FBI and was assigned to Washington, D.C. He worked international terrorism cases where he investigated crimes against American citizens committed by terrorists anywhere in the world. He's been deployed in Europe, Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia. Greg is also selected by the FBI to be attached to the Department of Defense Joint Task Force in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, where he supported military operations. He currently works on a Joint Terrorism Task Force, where he continues to support the FBI's mission to defeat terrorism. Additionally, Greg has been an FBI SWAT operator since 2005, executing high-risk federal arrest and search warrants on armed and dangerous individuals. Greg, you're more than welcome here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's certainly an honor to be back here in Hudson. Before I begin, I'd just like to thank my dad and I think my mom's coming, yeah, but she'll be here. My brother, who also was a Hudson High School graduate in '93, Tom and Connie Jackford for making the trip. It's a pleasant surprise. That's my wife's uncle and aunt. So my wife was also a 1993 graduate of Hudson. So Hudson's certainly, and then I have a brother and a sister who followed us in graduation. So that's why it's such an honor to be back here in Hudson to be able to do this. And you know, I owe a lot to Hudson and everything that's done for me.
So can I have you pointed at the computer?
Okay, so here's kind of the agenda that I'd just like to go over. Feel free, it's informal. You can ask questions anytime. We'll just stay away from the Trump, McCabe. You know that's what's going on in the room right now, because I know nothing about it. I know as much as you do. So yeah, so we're just going a quick overview of the FBI. Okay, some of the investigations in our area of responsibility that I've been involved in kind of highlighted by the OSU attack that happened a couple years ago, and then again, take any questions.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so again, my background, Hudson High School, 1991. I moved here sophomore year of high school, and it was really kind of, it was a turning point in my life. I owe so much to Hudson High School, the school district. I mean, phenomenal, the values that were instilled in me back then, obviously by my parents as well. Ed Sogan, who I wish was here today, because I always want to make sure I try to embarrass him and thank him. Oh, good. Okay, great. So, Ed, if you're watching, I really want to thank you. Ed was my first football coach, like I said, or as he said, and I was a running back, so Ed coached the running backs as well. And one of the key takeaways that I always thank him for is instilling that mental toughness. He did not let up on us and kept pushing us and pushing us, which, that was the first time that's ever happened. Sophomore in high school, I never pushed like that before. And so that really kind of began that, all right, mind over matter, your body can handle it, now you gotta get your mind straight. And that obviously helped a lot, and it continues to today. The teachers at Hudson, like you said, fantastic. We got the education that allowed me to go to West Point and continue on. My parents, my dad, a few things, many things obviously that I've taken away, but he told me never take no for an answer, right? Always be on the front line, so to speak. My dad was always setting an example. He was traveling. He knew that in order to make a deal in sales, financial planning, etc., you got to get out there. You got to be there. So you got to be on that quote unquote front line. That's something that I try to follow that example. And trying to think. Then I had a guidance counselor. I like to tell the story, and he didn't mean to do this on purpose, but I remember junior year going in and telling him that, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to try this U.S. Military Academy. And he kind of laughed at me and said, yeah, I don't think so. and it wasn't. I don't think it was mean, but he's like, no, let's steer you this way. And so that kind of stuck with me, and it's like, you know what? I don't like being told no for an answer. Now that I started learning about that, like, all right, I'm going to turn this around and make it work for me. And then finally, there's another thing my dad just thought that he gave me this. Vince Lombardi, you've probably seen the speech. Winning isn't everything; it's the only thing, which I know is not politically correct to say now, but especially as I'm coaching my kids in sports. But it's true. I mean, and you all know that. You wouldn't be here as successful as you are without it. But whether you like it or not, whether you want to close that sale, close the deal, either it happens or it doesn't. In my line of work, you're either alive or you're not. You're either prosecuting a case or you lose the case. So it's yes and no. It's black and white. And so I keep that, and I actually still have that Vince Lombardi speech at our house. And I had 3 young boys, like I said, so I'm trying to gradually instill it. I'm not going to come off right away and force it down their throat. So actually, the guidance counselor was right. I didn't get into West Point right out of high school. I had to go to prep school for a year at West Point Prep. I didn't even know what it was, didn't know where it was, but it had West Point on it, so I said yes. And it was in New Jersey. It was a year to get your grades up, academic, SAT, ACT scores, and great decision. Then yeah, so like I said, my dad's front line. So I was like, well, there's no other better way to be on the front line, be an infantry officer and do all those fun schools. So I signed up to do that. And like I said, went to Ranger School. I was in the 3rd Infantry Division. We deployed to Kuwait. Came back as a Ranger instructor in the mountain phase of Ranger School, where we taught the students, how to patrol, how to survive, etc., in the mountains. And again, all these lessons learned, mental toughness, is all playing a role here. I got out after 5 years and started using my engineering degree with Stryker Medical, an instrument company headquartered in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Great job, fantastic, opportunities there, but then 9/11 hit, and I just couldn't sit back and do this. So, I just got married. My wife and I, it's kind of a good compromise. Like, listen, I want to go back to the Rangers. I want to, do all of that back in the military. Well, let's maybe stay in the U.S. and see if there's something here we can do. So, made a decision to go into the FBI and work counterterrorism, and she supported that 100%. After Quantico, it's a 5-month program at Quantico, and they teach all the violations and kind of get you ready for the street. So I went to and they tell you where you're going to go. I went to the Washington field office, which is not FBI headquarters in on Pennsylvania Avenue, but it's close, and it's where basically the field agents are. My first assignment, I walk in there and okay, based on your background, we're sending you right overseas. So everything my wife didn't want me to do, the FBI wanted me to do. So, like, sorry. And I got all these passports and all these different funky colored passports, and they're like, all right, you're going to Bosnia, you're going here. And what it was, you know, this was the war on, literally the global war on terror. So while the military was fighting the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, we were now part of task forces going around the world, getting those terrorists that, you know, kind of under the radar. Maybe they're hiding out in the Philippines, maybe they're hiding in Bosnia. So I did quite a few trips. I was gone anywhere from 6 to 7 months out of the year, with going to Africa. For example, in Bosnia, you know, you had a lot of Bosnian. A lot of guys were fighting the war in the mid-90s. They came from Afghanistan the first time, then they went back to Afghanistan, and they left elements there who now were starting to attack the U.S. Presence that is still in Bosnia. And so we had tracked a few, the military caught a few in Afghanistan, and so I spent a lot of time also in Guantanamo Bay doing interrogations of them, and you know, leading us from Orleans to get more guys. And a lot of this is in support of the military, which is fantastic. Then, let's see, yeah, in Kenya, Liberia, I spent a lot of time in Liberia, in West Africa, because we had a U.S. citizen who was actually Charles Taylor's son, and he was torturing their citizens. And because he's a U.S. citizen, we had jurisdiction over him. We just had to get him, and we got him, brought him back, and you know, he's doing 97 years in jail right now. So, so it's been a heck of a roller coaster ride. But then, okay, after 3 kids, it's time to stay CONUS, just do stuff in D.C. I joined the Joint Terrorism Task Force. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with that concept, it is comprised of FBI agents, but we're just a small portion. It's like in D.C. it was Secret Service, Washington Metropolitan Police, ICE, the Sheriff's Office, you know, you name it. And we all, if they have to do the background check, they get clearance, they come and they sit with us. They're FBI special agents, we call them task force officers, and they do everything we do, but they also bring all of their expertise to the table and their violations. So if we can't get somebody federally, you know, like right now in Columbus I'm on one, and we'll go, you know, what can the state do? What can the city do? It's just anything to get this guy behind bars or maybe kicked out of the country, depending if it's an immigration issue. So in 2010, I left DC late 2010 and came to Columbus, Ohio. And I'm on the Joint Terrorism Task Force there. We have 2 of them in Columbus. And the way it's broken down, it's by Northern and Southern District of Ohio. Let's just take Ohio with the FBI. Cleveland is the headquarters city for the Northern District. Now there's offices in Toledo, Youngstown, Akron, Canton, Mansfield. Just south of Mansfield is the Southern District of Ohio, so just draw a line directly across the state. Cincinnati is the headquarters, where the headquarters seat sits for the Southern District of Ohio. Columbus is what's called a resident agency, though we're larger than Cincinnati headquarters now because the city keeps growing. But we have offices in Dayton, Portsmouth, Cambridge, and Athens. So I'm on a Joint Terrorism Task Force there, and it's the same concept. We have the Ohio Highway Patrol, the Westerville Police, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, and it's amazing when we have it, and you'll see some of the cases I'll just quickly go over, but when we have a case, how we can instantly collapse on that individual, use all the resources that not just the Bureau has, but that the local law enforcement has as well. Okay, so yeah, this is actually, I kind of like this. This was from Afghanistan, and I'll read it for you. But after I finished the first time, and like you said, when I was attached to a military task force, and oh, by the way, that's hence the beard. I'm going back for 4 months, leaving in May 18th until September 18th. So, you know, I interact with the Afghans daily. Usually the fighters, and you know, if you kind of have any respect whatsoever with them, it's It's a lot of facial hair. The Taliban likes the fist-length beard, so I don't know if I can get that long, but anyway, so normally you don't see too many agents with a beard, but I'm allowed some going over there. But this was a pretty cool certificate that the Joint Special Operations Command gave me. It was Thomas Naples. That's my first name, actually, but I go by middle name. Was an essential asset to the non-existent mission of a nameless organization operating somewhere in the world in support of good people in places they never were, doing totally legal things to some very bad people. So, they give me a medal and everything like that. I'm obviously appreciative of the medal, and but I like that better. Okay, so like I said, I'm also on our SWAT team. The way it works is we wear a lot of hats as agents, and if you have a skill or you have an interest, we have many different extra duties, such as SWAT. That kind of fits into my background, so I was attracted to that. But there's evidence response, there's bomb techs. Obviously the bomb techs are down in Austin right now, very busy, and many undercover. You can be an undercover agent. So I chose SWAT, and these are just a few examples. Our bread and butter is our heroin, opioid, drug gang warrants that we do early in the morning. We bring in the truck, knock down the door, and go get the guys. But we also do protection. That's Attorney General Sessions on the upper right. We're here for the RNC, helping out at Berkeley Airport with Trump. I had a picture of Mueller and Comey, but I didn't want to put those up there. Yeah. And then down in the lower right's Oregon. We were there for a militia standoff a few years ago, and spent a few weeks in the high desert of very far eastern Oregon.
Here.
Okay. Again, a couple other, we practice, because we are a small organization in reality, and we do deploy to different parts of the country, so we have to keep training on, like below is maritime training. There's a ghost fleet ship in the James River, and we have to go down there. Coast Guard drive us to the boats, and we climb that little ladder. It's hard to see the picture, but on the right-hand side, you pray to God you don't fall in. We have life vests on, but I don't trust them. And then this is just an operation. We did a Mexican cartel that was living in a rural area, and our sniper sent that picture. I thought it was pretty cool with the night vision as we were landing, and then we assaulted the house. Again, yeah, special events. We work the Ohio State games down in Columbus right now. That's the big one with 100,000 people inside and about 75 people outside, 75,000. Super Bowl, and then that was the first time I ever seen $1 million, so I had to put that up there. That's probably the only time I'll ever see $1 million. But it was hidden in a pool table. We had to rip apart that pool table, and we found it all in there wrapped up. So that was kind of cool. Again, what the FBI investigates, I'm sure you know, but I'll go through quickly. Terrorism. I'm international terrorism, but we also work domestic terrorism, which is an interesting one. We're kind of maybe leaning this guy down in Austin, could be around that. But you have, in order for domestic terrorism to be domestic terrorism, you have to have federal crime, you have to have somebody that belongs to a group, and you have to have motivation, or he has to be using his affiliation to push an agenda. So there's a triangle that we call the DT triangle. It's a lot to prove. Many times it's either to get them on hate crimes or other violations, but domestic terrorism it's there, it's rampant. Not as much in Ohio, but in other places in the country, it's full-time. They'll have a full-time domestic terrorism squad between all the separatist groups and things like that they're working out. Obviously spies, counterintelligence, and not just what you think in DC, it's everywhere, as I'm sure you know. The economic espionage is probably just as bad as anything right now. Cybercrime, if there's those, as they say, there's those that know they've been hacked by the Chinese and those who don't know they've been hacked by the Chinese. So Bureau does a great job doing liaison with our cyber agents to companies to teach them what to look for, how to protect themselves. So if you're ever interested in that, you can contact myself or the Bureau and they'll come out. And then, yeah, the normal organized crime, weapons of mass destruction, kind of what they're seeing right now in Austin. We have 56 offices, main offices throughout the country. Each office is broken down, like I said, to resident agencies. So, we're spread out everywhere in the country. But I have down there's only 12 to 13,000 of us. It's really not that large. Why we rely so much on the joint terrorism or the joint task force aspect. Even with violent crime, there's Safe Street Task Force. There's many different task forces, because to put in perspective, NYPD has anywhere between 40 to 50,000 police officers on a given day, just in New York. We only have 12 to 13,000, and we cover the world. We're in 65 embassies, many consulates, so we rely heavily on others as well. All right, so I just wanted to kind of briefly go over, since 2015 we've been very busy, is that the ISIS was formed in 2014. So just in our area of responsibility for Cincinnati, again, if you take Mansfield and go down, that's just what we've been doing. Cleveland office has been busy as well, but I've been involved in all of these cases since 2015, and it's just, it's finally kind of starting to slow down now that we're getting a hold on ISIS more. One thing that's important to note too is, maybe you've heard the term homegrown violent extremist. What that really means, you're lone wolf, you hear things like that, but we have a category for homegrown violent extremist, and it's kind of our worst fear, because it's somebody that resides in the country, was basically raised here in the U.S. and is not directed by ISIS or another terrorist organization. They're inspired by it. So when they're directed, sometimes it's a little bit easier, because we might get a lead, a tip, somebody picks something up on a phone conversation, and now we can zero in on that person. If they're inspired, then now we don't know what's happened in their basement and on their computer, and they're self-radicalizing. So that's our biggest fear, and it still is. The first one, Christopher Cornell, and these are his legal U.S. name. He, in the mosque, he'd have a Muslim name, but he was arrested in Cincinnati in January 2015 for plotting to blow up the Capitol. And again, he was an HVE, self-radicalized in his basement. He was a high school champion wrestler in a high school outside of Cincinnati. Don't know at what point he went down that path. He would walk 2 hours a day to and from mosque 5 times a day. That's all he did. He just walked to his house, walked to the mosque, walked to his house, walked to the mosque. So again, self-radicalized HVE. And also that same month in Columbus, Abdul Rashid attempted to charge the airport with a knife, and he was shot dead there at the airport. But again, self-radicalized, we don't know what he was trying to accomplish. We couldn't exactly find if it was any direct links to groups overseas. But yeah, so we spent a lot of time there at the airport on a kind of gallows humor type of thing. 2 days later, I was leaving for Disney World off the same entrance to the airport. I remember taking the kids, like, all right, we're gonna walk this way. We're not gonna go through these doors where he was laying down. April, this was a really good case too. It's Abdurrahman Sheikh Mohammed. He was more directed. So he went overseas to fight, and he and his brother, they went overseas to fight. Then they came, his brother was killed in Syria. He came back with a plot. And so we were on him surveillance-wise for literally weeks, months. And he had legitimate plots to kill the U.S. They did recon of recruiting stations, etc. Another one here that was directed is Munir Abdul Qadir in Cincinnati. This one was actually very scary, and I'm so thankful we caught it in time. But he was getting direct communications with ISIS overseas, and he had a plan. And I use this example a lot with social media, because you just be careful what you put on social media. ISIS directed him to find a U.S. serviceman, and I won't get into details, but basically bound, gagged, murder his family with video, and then post it online for ISIS. Well, the way he found, you know, Wright Patterson in our area, the way he found this poor airman was the airman was getting married, or just got married, but his wedding information was all, you know, those wedding websites, everybody has them. Well, that's how they found him. They found him like, oh, here he is, here's where he lives, here's his parents, this is what he looks like. So all the information he got about when ISIS did the recon and the scouting of who he should kill was based almost all on their wedding website. So it's kind of scary. So just, you know, give you pause to make sure you know what you're putting up there. But so we had to move that family to a hotel. Then we actually took him down, and our squad, we did this, we were all under plain clothes, and it was in the city at Kings Island, and we had, as Murphy's Law would have it, was, again, kind of funny in our line of work, but the plan was going down, you know, perfect plan, everything was great, no problem, we picked out a place where this deal would go, he'd buy an AK-47, and we already reconned it, there was a parking lot, it was after hours, nobody would be there. Famous last words. So here comes him, the undercover is already set up at this parking lot in his truck, he's got his AK-47 and a variety of other weapons. Well, here comes Munir in his little car, and we're looking, and surveillance is on him, and they're calling us saying, you're not going to believe this. He's among 5 school buses full of kids leaving Kings Island, who, in the buses, decided they wanted all parked there, so, and we're talking half a mile away, and let all the kids run to McDonald's. But you've got to be kidding me. This is unbelievable. So we had to sit, and there's no way we were going to take him down with 5 school buses of kids right there. So, you know, we had to adapt, and he got in the car, and we ended up doing a traffic stop, if you will, not really, but it was very aggressive, and we did it right in front of a Wendy's. So I never look at this Wendy's the same, because you know that look. Everyone's like, he pulls in the Wendy's, and all of a sudden a bunch of unmarked cars and really unmarked people were just dressed in whatever, jump out, get him, of course identify ourselves, and throw him in the back of our car, you know, cuff him up, take off. Another agents grab his car, and we get the heck out of there. And people are looking at us at Wendy's like, what am I looking at? Where in the world? And so of course we leave somebody back there just to make sure. Okay. And again, we have police with us, so it's already on the radio. Like, we're not kidnapping this guy or anything like that. But it was quite the spectacle, I'm sure, if you were eating your burger and watching this. And the reason we had to do it like that, though, is because he was getting directed by ISIS. We didn't want ISIS to know we got him. So that led to many other things in many other places around the world, and we were able to, the military was eventually able to kill a lot of people with drones who were directing. So it was a great, successful case. But you know, there's always those little variables that you never plan for.
Next. Always something, right? There you go.
Okay, so this was 2016. That was just 2015. Again, this is just Southern Ohio. This is the ones that we actually arrested. We did plenty of other operations to deter and maybe get some people kicked out. But so early 2016, we had Mohammed Berry. He went into a restaurant in the Nazareth restaurant owned by a Jewish gentleman, and he had a hatchet and just started hacking everybody in the restaurant. And unfortunately, Columbus police responded and they attacked him. But he, again, self-radicalized, inspired, you know, as they like to say, you know, wasn't on our radar. Then these are the other, you've heard about some of these other attacks in 2016, again, all ISIS inspired, you know, the bombings in New York, gunman shot a police officer in Philadelphia, the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. And then finally, Abdul Artan, another inspired attacker in Columbus who attacked at Ohio State. And I'm going to kind of go through that case quickly for you. Aaron Daniels, also in November of 2016, he was planning to fight with ISIS in Libya, and he literally, we just got done doing the search warrant on him, and then Artan does his attack at Ohio State. And in 2017, and another one that was arrested at the airport in Cincinnati for traveling to go fight with ISIS in Syria. All right, Abdul Artan, this is another one that was we were intimately involved in, unfortunately afterwards, because again, he was the HVE, he was the one that self-radicalized in his basement. This happened the Monday after the Michigan game in 2016. Like I said, we work Ohio State games. Before the game, either myself or another agent has to give a safety, I don't know, safety brief, an intelligence briefing to all the chiefs and commanders that are present at the game. This is 7 hours before game time, so it's a long day. But my presentation at the time was, you've heard these magazines that ISIS and Al-Qaeda and everybody have. Well, they had just released one weeks before saying, outlining how to do these attacks. You take a truck, kind of like they did in East France, and you plow into a crowd, you jump out with a knife or a gun, and you continue the attack until until you can't anymore. And so that was my briefing on the 26th of November, and went through just to make sure everyone's aware. And 2 days later, I'm now dressed in the SWAT uniform, looking for the second. They thought there was a second person, and folks would come up saying, "Man, you just briefed this." And I said, "I know, this is how quickly these guys can read this and get these ideas." So Abdul Artan, that's just the birthday they gave him. He looks much older than that, but when you're a refugee and you're coming from some of these countries, they don't exactly know how old you are, so they kind of guess. And so in Columbus, we have the second largest Somali population, 40 to 50,000, right behind Minneapolis. Everybody's born on January 1st, so kind of joke about that. Big birthday day in Somali, or Columbus. But they all are 1-1 in a year. Most of them, not all of them. But so he left Somalia, went to Pakistan, then came to Texas, and then came to Columbus. That was his route to Columbus. For those that, it's just a map of Ohio State and the route that he took. It was right outside of Watts Hall, if you're familiar with the campus. Obviously, Ohio Stadium's right there on the left, and then Watts Hall is a few blocks away. Just some video surveillance that we nabbed of him coming towards campus. Yeah, just more pictures of his car. Okay, so he made a Facebook post. Well, he actually, about 10 minutes before the attack, he wrote this post. And again, it's the same kind of rhetoric that you hear in all the posts that are letters and things like that. That a lot of these, you know, they're mad against the treatment of Muslims around the world. The U.S. is interfering in Muslim countries, things like that. It's the same rhetoric. References Anwar al-Awlaki, you know, he's been a huge inspiration of a lot of these terrorists throughout the years, and so, you know, a lot of times, it's a little sidebar here, but when we do interrogations, a lot of times you can tell where they are depending on the shape that they adhere to. There are a lot of good ones out there. There are also a lot of ones that if they say Anwar al-Awlaki, then okay, red flags go up and we're going to keep an eye on you more. But he was inspired by Anwar al-Awlaki. Okay, so what he did was he came down the road at a high rate of speed. His car hit a curb, bumped into one of those kind of little cement blocks, knocked off, and then he jumped out and began attacking with a knife. Before, fortunately, an Ohio State police officer happened to be right in the area. There was a gas leak, one of those constant alarms that always went off. He was the new guy, so he always had to go check the alarm, make sure it was fine. And lo and behold, now he's in a position where he is literally a hero, and he did a fantastic job. I mean, with the kids running left and right, and he was able to shoot down the attacker without neutralize the threat without hurting others. This is a good friend, West Point buddy of mine. He's also a bomb tech with the FBI, In fact, he's in Austin right now. But yeah, so again, and then this is our Columbus Police Bomb Command, Columbus Fire Bomb Commander. It's all part of this Joint Terrorism Task Force that we're on, and so we show up to a scene and we know everybody, and it really makes it go smoothly. Okay, just overhead. Oh, it's funny. I shouldn't say funny, but the all those videos or shots of the car going in to do the attack. Ohio State has a fantastic. There's cameras everywhere at Ohio State campus, except for the one intersection where this took place. They're all down that day. Who knows why? You know, it wasn't related to this at all, but it's just funny that how that happens. Again, his family's now sending him alerts. Hey, you okay? I heard something going on at Ohio State. And okay, so this is the timeline of it. At 7:20, he goes to Walmart, buys his knives. He's already made the decision to this happen. And I'll show you the timeline, another one. But backing up, he'd already did a trip to Washington D.C. over Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving Day, he was going to do an attack, but maybe it was Friday. But everything's closed, so he turned around and came back. Thank goodness. So, but then they decided to do it at Ohio State. But at 7:20 in the morning, he wakes up, knows what he's going to do. He takes his sister to school, drafts his Facebook message at 8:38, goes, withdraws money because, Islamically you don't want to die with debt. So he wanted to pay off those he owed money to, like his little brother. So then at 9:49, posts a statement, and just like I said, the rest, he went and conducted his attack in the name of ISIS, allegedly. This was just our basic timeline. So we responded, but there were a lot of reports of a second shooter. And what it was, and this is just the chaos of the situation, you can, after I actually review it to death, but everyone wants to do the right thing. A police officer who was not on duty was running into a building nearby with a long rifle, and all the students thought that was a second shooter. So now, this brand new, beautiful building in Ohio State, our SWAT team and a couple others literally had to tear down every door, get all the shelter-in-place people out, and it was $75,000 worth of doors we ruined in this brand new building. But, students thought they saw a second shooter. Yeah, it's just, he bought these knives that morning, but he also bought like chicken and some other things to make it look like, I don't know what he was thinking, but it looked like he wasn't going to plan an attack, so he just bought, tomatoes, chicken, and some knives at Walmart at 7:20 in the morning. Again, this is just the route. One thing that we do a lot of studying on is attackers know their AOR, they know their responsibility, their area of responsibility, they know their location, and this was true to a T with him as well. This is Mia magazine. This is one that I was mentioning. This is ISIS magazine, teaching you how to do attacks. Well, this is one that came out after, and that's him. These are all of our SWAT commanders there, so they were not too happy to be in a terrorist magazine. But this is what we call this like kind of flash to bang. Now it's before in the day when you had, let's say, the 9/11 attacks, they got here years before they conducted their attack. Now, this timeline, this flash to bang, if you will, is, it's just that red area. Is basically, it was October and November. That's how fast this is happening. And if we don't get a tip or a lead, then we're going to miss it. He had an interesting timeline too, because he graduated from Columbus State with honors for an associate's degree. Everything was great. He was the man of the family. He was going to make a lot of money for the family, and mom and kids relied on him to do that. He started at Ohio State for the next 2 years to get his degree, and realized he was way over his head. He can't manage these classes. He's going to be a failure. So his grades drop, and then this is where we started seeing him going down that path. Right as his grades were dropping, he starts getting on the computer and looking at all these radical shakes and self-radicalizing. So we believe at that time he's struggling with what he is doing. Now, in October, he just drops out. Now he's made his decision. Okay, this isn't for me. He drops out of college at Ohio State, stopped taking classes and starts really, really heavily looking at a lot of these online videos. And then does a recon, or does an attempt in DC, comes back, and then does his attack at Ohio State and Columbus. So, but the big thing here is, like we said, the point of radicalization, the point he makes up that decision until he actually does it. So that is ever decreasing, and it's our biggest nightmare. Yeah, he was stressed. That's what we kind of came up with our conclusion. Basically, he was that stress caused him to self-radicalize, and I don't want to say, maybe go out respectfully, if you will. He couldn't do it. He didn't want to commit suicide, but he couldn't be the man of the house that all this pressure that his mom and family were putting on him. So we believe that obviously played a huge role in this. And then, yeah, so that's just down and dirty. Yes, ma'am.
I'll take a microphone. Well, I was going to ask, could you stay after and answer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I brought some SWAT equipment here if you want to see it. I know it's late, but I have SWAT equipment here if you want to, I don't know, pick it up, look at it. And I'm here to answer questions, so whatever you need.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Watching that, it's scary, but it's also, I'm so glad and thankful for you for doing that for us and being there for our country and for all of us. Thank you. I just want to thank the greeters, Ralph Day. Was there anyone else with you? Just you? Okay, thank you very much. Audio, visual, and setup crew, Dan Rich, Tom Page, Tom Tobin, James Fields, Ron Barnhouse. And this morning was supposed to be our service learning group here, but I guess they weren't here because of the 2-hour delay for the schools. Rotabuck, if you remember last week, we didn't get to draw for the Rotabuck last week, so Clint, will you come up and do the drawing? Last week we had the 4-way speech contest, and they were doing the judging, and remember we couldn't find the marbles or something, so Clint gets to draw that. We lost our marbles. Yeah, we lost our marbles. And Ben told me that it's for $219 if you pull this.
Go for it. Go. Okay.
And for today's Rotabuck, it's $14 cash, and the jackpot's now at $233. I'm going to ask you to draw. We always have a speaker draw.
Come on.
5674.
Oh.
567.
Oh, Thomas. Ringer.
Pay to come early.
No, it doesn't. I've never paid to come early, has it?
No, schools want to come with me.
Thank everybody for being here today, and have a great week. And he's going to stay for questions.